Right everyone, so I've got the header part because I've got a bit of a chronic oil leak, so I thought I'd do a few other jobs at the same time. A couple of them don't really matter that much, but I thought I'd just show you about fitting one of these. Now, with turbocharged aftermarket applications, it's quite important to know what temperatures you're running. Obviously with coolant, your oil, exhaust temperature at the manifold, that's really important, and also your air intake. This can tell you a lot of things. It can tell you how efficient your intercooler is, whether you need to get a bigger one, a better one, your turbo, whether your extremes of your turbo, your turbochargers at certain pressures and PSIs, and they just get too hot, they turn into a hairdryer. You don't want that. Obviously, cooler air, more efficiency, more power. So I've got this little device. It's about 15 quid. It's got a little probe on the end. Got a 1 second refresh rate, a little digital screen. You can see it's quite small, but it's nice and clear. I'll light it up in a second. And basically, we've got a little boost pipe here, which is just before the intake manifold. I don't want to tap the inlet manifold, so it's the pipe just before, and I'm going to tap that little probe in there. We've got one of these here. Basically, it's a little fit-in. You can screw it and seal it onto a surface, and then as you tighten this piece up with the probe in between it, the little piece of rubber seals on that, and that obviously gives us a seal, because obviously when it's under boost we don't want that leaking. What does it look like? Let's just split these wires here. Basically we've got a power and an earth, and we'll just tap in to, I've already got basically behind the dash 2 wires switched for all the gauges basically, just so that I've got the same power for all the gauges. So we'll just strip a bit off these wires. That was already done, and just show you what it looks like. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but we'll try. Hang on. There we go. So according to this, it's just dropping because I've just had the probe in my hand. It's about 11 degrees. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I've lost the wire on the one side. Anyway, it's a nice digital readout. It gives you a scale of green to red, so it's easy to spot visually, but it also gives you an exact temperature. 1 second refresh rate, it should do it nicely. First thing I'm going to do is just cut this length. They never give you enough between the actual gauge and the probe, in my opinion. So I'm going to have to cut this, find out what wire's like inside, and then extend it. So let's do that. And we can put this to one side. This is just going to fit where I've already got a little slot of the Arduino readout, which currently doesn't work with the software we're running. It's not that important. I can't watch it quick enough, and it's too bright in the night time anyway. So this will be a bit more important for now, for the final developments of this car. So we'll put that to one side. Right, and we can put the intercooler. Well, that just looks cool, doesn't it? So we'll just leave it there. Don't need a battery though. Right. I'm not too worried about the moment. What I expected to see, I've seen there. Basically, we've got 2 wires. I don't think the camera's going to pick up these 2 wires. They are tiny. You can just see that there's 2 wires there, red and a white. So all I've got to do is obviously get a little bit of wire in and extend that through the bulkhead. So all I'm going to do here is this little fit in here. There's a proper name for them, but I can never remember the name. It's like vein or something weird. As you can see there, as you tighten this bit up, the little rubber in there tightens up, and there's a little seal on this side. So the boost pipe here, I'll put that fitting on there, that'll seal there, and then the probe will go in that way and sit inside. I'll show you. And it'll sit inside a little bit like that, but obviously not dangling out like that. So it'll sit right in the airflow, and it'll give us a good idea of what temperatures we're running. Obviously always use the right hammer for the job, not that one. Right, now I'm going to be fitting it just to the side, just in case we have any issues with it knocking. We haven't got much room here in the car, so right, that's giving us a little something to work with. I'm leaving the silicone on here. If you've got a good length of pipe, take the silicone off, but I haven't got much room to work with, so I'm just leaving the silicone on as a reference point, and I'm probably just going to have to cut a little bit away, but it shouldn't be too bad. Goes my probe. Right. So I've just hole punched it, just to give ourselves something to work with. I was going to answer that question. Right. Nice round hole. We're just going to get ourselves a little file and just make sure that there's no loose bits. We don't want any loose bits of metal and aluminium just making their way into the engine bay. And then really could do with that hammer now I was looking for earlier, because I have a plan for it. Right, so we drilled a hole. I think it was, what size was that, trying to read it, 8mm. So 8mm little hole there. Obviously you might want to check what size you need, because your probe might be a different size and the fitment might be a little bit different. But mine's an 8. And then I've just trimmed my silicone. You might not need to do that. Hopefully you won't. I've only had to do that because I'm restricted by spares. Right, and there it sits. So you can see that, hopefully. It sits quite nicely like there, in there, and then it'll sit inside. But because of its size and the seal on it, I'm probably going to add a bigger seal. But what I'd like to do is, obviously, that's a flat edge that needs sealing on. This is very round. So I'm going to get a hammer and hit it against something square. Just try and square that edge off just a wee bit. And then it will look beautiful, I hope. I don't know for sure, but it might look a bit better. The problem is I have nothing square. I can't find my box section. I have a big length of box section, and I can't for the life of me find it now, unfortunately. Hang on. Ooh. That might do. Right. And also my hammer's down in the other workshop. Right. That is a lot better. You might not be able to see that. It's ovaled a little bit, but it's just flattened that edge off a little bit, so that when this goes on, which has made it obviously a bit tighter now because it's compressed the hole, that's one, a lovely fit, and two, it's a much squarer edge. So I'm going to look in my drawer of bits and bobs and seals and pings and springs and washers. Find myself. No, that's grommets. I don't want grommets. I want seals. Although a grommet isn't a bad idea, but I want a proper seal on this. There they are. You could probably just use a standard one, but I have a feeling I just want to make sure of this. So I'm just whipping off the little O-ring that's on here. Like that. Don't know where that went. Not seeing that again. And then we're just going to stick on a slightly fatter seal. There we go. Looks a bit bigger, doesn't it? See that? Right, and hopefully, the only issue we've got obviously is the seal may well protrude and cause an issue with trying to then do it up. So all we've got to do then is get our little nut on the other side. Just got it started, that's good. Right, and spanner. And I don't mean the person doing it. Right, there we go. Anyone wondering, it's an 11mm. We just have to do that up As it pulls on the seal on the inside, it will mushroom out a little bit, so you don't want to go too far. There we go, and that should form a very nice seal. I wonder if you can see that in there. You see that in there? There we go. So there's a little seal just between that and there, and the probe will stick out there. So all we need to do now is run the probe through and do that bit up there, which is not an 11mm. To find out what size that is. Do you think it'll be a 14? Yep, it's a 14. So what we've got to do is get our probe, pop it through there, and you put it to the point that you want it. That's as far as I want that. And then we just got to do up that secondary piece in there, like that. And what happens is, inside there is a seal that gets squeezed nice and evenly the more you do this bit up, and it will squeeze onto the probe, causing a lovely boost-proof seal. One more tighten should do it. You don't want to over-tighten it and crush it. There we go. Make sure that's secure in there. Yep. So there we have it. So boost goes through there, and then this little point here will heat up or cool down, and then it'll send a signal down this wire across to that gauge, which I've chucked somewhere now I can't find. Oh, there it is. And it'll send it to this little gauge here, which will be inside my car. So that was rather long-winded. But I don't try and convince you into thinking that I do things really quickly. I do things really slowly, muck them up and do them again. But that's done. I just need to wash the inside of there with some brake cleaner or something. Obviously there's lots of filings from drilling. I can reapply that, and actually if I've not got time this week, I can obviously just keep that wiring tidy somewhere, and I can wire it up at a later date. It's fitted, it's bruise proof, and I can check with that, that when I run it up, if I just put some fairy liquid around there, and then run it up, give it some boost, there's some bubbles, then I know I need to reapply some seal. Otherwise, that's that first bit done. Right, so it's likely it's been a few months probably, so I put the boost plate back on, and it's just sat there, a little coil of wire, for some time. So that's sat nicely there. Because that happened. So 6 weeks ago today, in the evening, I bust my foot. So I've been on crutches and pretty much off my feet. You will have seen on the channel that I have been doing a little bit with editing, basically, just to get the films out, and we're working on the new 16 valve project, but we haven't given on this 12 valve beast. Righty then. Where are we with this? Well, if I remember rightly, I left off with showing you how to fit the probe, and we fitted that, and there's no bow sleeves, which is lovely. Next thing is to get this wire inside the car, and then the gauge inside as well. So we're just going to solder up a bit of wire. It's a bit over the top, but it's all I can find right now. Everything's just a mess at the moment. My workshop's an absolute tump, but it does give me the expansion for more. And then I think what I'm going to do is, obviously, if you've got 206, 106, whatever car you want really to put this in, ZX, there's definitely lots of different places you could put it, especially on a custom dash like this. That does look useful, but the Arduino should be going in there if we can recode it at some point. I quite like that little space there. If you can see that very well. I quite like that. It'll sit in the dash. But for now, to test it, I'm going to wire it up, and I'm just going to cable tie it right there. That looks a bit of a bodge in it temporarily, but then if it all works okay, we can then take the dash out, trim that, and we can fit that in that gap. That there, other than engine management light, there's no other lights, and obviously engine management light won't work on this. So that'll fit beautifully in there, and that'll be a win. Wiring wise, it's pretty simple. All you need to do, well, the sun's out today as well today, you'll probably work out what day it is because we don't have much of that. Is a simple red and white wire. So this end, red and white, will go to 2 wires. Wire's a wire, to be honest, at the end of the day. It's just a signal wire, so you don't exactly need fat wire, just to go through the bulkhead and then connect back up with this. And then the red and black is just obviously power and earth. You'll need a live switch in from ignition, from a fuse hopefully. Again, it doesn't take much power, tiny amount, so selecting off something else like another gauge you've got running or your dash or something like that is fine. Just you'll need to switch it on and off Obviously you could put your own fuse in as well, but it's a bit of a palaver just for that little gauge. So let's get soldering. Know what you're all thinking. You shouldn't solder in an engine bay. No, you shouldn't. You should just crimp. There's a good argument to that, and I totally agree with it. Heat and vibration will pull a solder joint apart. However, you don't always have a choice. And in this case, I don't. All my crimps are way, way too big to work on these wires. So, I'm going to have to solder. So I'm going to use good shrink wrap and tape and hope it'll be okay. At the end of the day, it's not detrimental, is it? It's not exactly everything for the car, but you do want reliability, as you know, as you should. So if you can, crimp, don't solder, and use good crimps. Although I'm saying that because I'm saying do as I say, not as I do, because all those joints kind of over there near the turbo where it's not very cool are soldered and they keep breaking and I keep having to replace them. In fact, in the previous video I think I showed you how to replace them. Right, anyway, always use a nice clean flat surface to work on. Oh yeah, you can really see what I'm doing there, can't you? Great camera angle. If anyone wants to be a cameraman for me, please feel free. Comment in the bottom. I paid nothing but tea and biscuits. Right, I'll just put a shrink wrap. Okay, so we'll get a bit of tape on that in a second. Ooh, what colour should we go for? Violet. Ow, ow, still not good on my foot. Blue. If you are interested, I broke my foot while running at football. I didn't get tackled by anyone. I didn't get kicked by anyone. I didn't even fall over. I was just running. But that teaches you one simple thing. Football is no good for no one. It's quite boring to watch. And it appears it's quite dangerous to play. Seems it's much safer to stick yourself in an F1 car. Although maybe Alonso didn't feel that way last weekend. Right, that's professional enough, isn't it? That looks great. Okay, now the other reason I've used this bit of wiring is it's quite stiff. It's going to be really handy for threading through. So I'm going to thread it under here, cable tie a couple of spots, and there's not many people seem to know about it because they seem to shove holes in the bulkhead, but there's a little bung just back there, just above the right hand side of the master cylinder on a 306. That's great for just shoving stuff through, which we're going to do with that. And then we'll attach the sensor and see if it works. Right, so in the car, totally legit, OEM plus. It's going to look great, that. Obviously we're just going to put that in that position just to test it, and then that lovely little gap that's behind. We'll probably fit it in there, I expect. And then we might take that dash to the... yeah, that's legit as well. That I'm doing... don't know what I'm doing there. 22 miles an hour. 1800 RPM. Silent. That's not right. Anyway, we'll fiddle with that in a second. Anyway, what you care about is these two wires here. So we've brought that wire in, we've soldered them in, we'll just wrap them around in a second. I haven't shrink wrapped them yet in case I need to move it, which I will to fit that in there, so I've just soldered it and I'll just tape it up with some tape. And then these just simple black and red wire. So this black one, just to any earth, there is an earth like that on all, or you find an earth using probe, predictor continuity, which is that one there. See that? You'll find an earth point with that one, and then search around with this one, and you'll find an earth. The same really with this, the red one, but you want to switch that to 20, there we go, that one there, 20 volts. And then have a search for 12 volts when you put your ignition on, like that. So when you put your ignition on, make sure you've got 12 volts, and when you turn it off, make sure it turns off. And then either solder or crimp that into it. So I'll do that now. I'll probably use the same wiring that I used for the dash over there for those gauges, and then it'll come on and off with those gauges. Boom! Just briefly mention, and just put a couple of cable ties in place just to tidy your wiring up so your wiring is not rubbing against anything, and then it'll give you false positives, negative positives. Job done. Bam! Boom! Boost! It's in place, securely fixed. Oh yeah. In its OEM position. Got the wires going down here. This is my plug for all my accessories up here. Using again OEM plus plug, but I've just found an earth and a positive for now. Let's switch with ignition. So ignition goes on, and we have ambient temperature. Is it 12.6 degrees? I don't know. Possible, I suppose. So there we go with it running. It's about ambient temperature, I suppose, considering today's a bit warmer. And it won't be doing much, to be honest, because, well, engine's not really up to temperature, I'm not moving. The interesting thing will be once we're moving, we're boosting, engine's up to temperature, airflow through the radiator and the intercooler, and then we'll see what sort of temperatures we're getting on. Obviously, lower the better, really, for efficiency. So we'll see what the turbo and the intercooler's doing, but there we go, that's fitted. The next little stage I'll hopefully do, if it always working okay, I'm going to just trim, as I have probably said a number of times, that, and it's going to fit into the dash, so it will look a little bit less bodged. Although it does look quite sweet. I quite like it, to be honest, as bodged as it is. Right then, that's done. That's how to fit an air temperature sensor and gauge aftermarket. Obviously you can fit that anywhere you like, and the gauge itself, or the temperature probe itself, pretty much put it anywhere you want. Once you've got one of those glands, you can kind of drill a hole anywhere in the inlet system, make sure it's sealed, and it'll go. Wire it in, ignition switching, so when we turn off, it turns off. Thanks for watching. That will come off tonight, so more will happen. Piggy out. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, watch more. New project coming up. This will be at French Car Show, because the new project won't be finished because of that. Have I mentioned I broke my foot? And that's it. I'll do another update about this car, about how it's getting on, pretty soon. Take care. Bye. Right, so quick ride just to show you the budget, air temperature on the intake, and how it works.